The battle for Kepler Station began at dawn, ship time. Admiral Wansik stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as the largest fleet in galactic history took position around the massive space station. 300 ships from 12 different species formed defensive lines that stretched across 3 star systems. "All fleets report ready," announced Captain Eugene from the communications station. "Krell heavy assault wings are in position. Vorthon tech ships have deployed their enhanced shield networks. The Stellar Federation is ready with their improved targeting systems." Wansik nodded, studying the tactical display. Kepler Station was more than just a strategic position. It was the manufacturing heart of the galaxy, producing everything from starship components to medical supplies. If the Devourers took it, they would have the resources to build an unstoppable armada. "Sir," reported sensor specialist Kitai. "Massive hyperspace signatures detected. Multiple contacts incoming." The Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace like a plague of metal locusts. 50 massive ships, each one the size of a small moon, moved with mechanical precision toward the station. Behind them came hundreds of smaller vessels, their hulls black as space itself. "My God," breathed Commander Dex over the communication channel. "There are so many of them." Wansik had fought these machines before, in smaller engagements across the rim worlds. But this was different. This was their main force, and it was 3 times larger than Earth's intelligence estimates had predicted. "All ships, remember your training," Wansik announced on the fleet-wide channel. "Earth has spent 50 years preparing you for this moment. Trust in your abilities. Trust in each other." Dr. Yunjai appeared on a side screen from her position aboard the intelligence vessel. Her psychological operations expertise had become crucial as they learned more about Devourer behavior. "Admiral," she reported, "I'm detecting something unusual in their formation. They're not attacking in their normal pattern." Wansik frowned. "Explain." "Usually, Devourers attack in simple geometric formations, predictable patterns based on maximum efficiency. But this time they're using more complex tactics, almost like they're learning from our previous encounters." This was troubling news. The entire battle plan depended on Devourer predictability. If they were adapting, Earth's carefully prepared strategies might not work. "First wave incoming," Kaite announced. "Devourer attack ships, approaching at maximum velocity." The alien vessels opened fire while still thousands of kilometers away. Beams of pure energy lanced across space, striking the Council's defensive positions, but instead of the devastating damage the Devourers expected, the attacks were absorbed by enhanced shielding. "Vorthon modifications holding steady," reported Chancellor Vex from his command ship. "Shield efficiency up 40% from baseline." Wansik allowed himself a small smile. 50 years of agricultural improvements were paying off. "Krell fleet, begin attack pattern Alpha," he ordered. The massive red ships of the Krell Armada surged forward, their weapons blazing. But these weren't the same crude cannons they had used 50 years ago. Earth's modifications had improved. Their targeting systems increased their power output and enhanced their coordination abilities. The first wave of Devourer ships was cut apart in minutes. "Impossible," came a transmission from one of the alien vessels. The voice was cold and mechanical, utterly without emotion. "Council forces show enhanced capabilities beyond projected parameters." Wansik exchanged glances with his officers. The Devourers were definitely learning. "Second wave incoming," Kite reported. "They're using different tactics this time." The new attack formation was unlike anything the Devourers had used before. Instead of their usual geometric patterns, they moved in flowing, organic curves that seemed almost artistic. "They're copying our battle formations," Yunjie realized. "They've been studying our coordination patterns and adapting them to their own use." This was worse than troubling. This was terrifying. If the Devourers could learn and adapt in real time, they might overcome any advantage Earth had given the Council. "All ships switch to Formation Delta," Wansik ordered quickly. "Implement randomization protocols." The fleet immediately shifted to a more chaotic formation that relied on individual ship initiative rather than coordinated patterns. It was less efficient, but much harder to predict or copy. The second wave of Devourers seemed confused by the change. Their new tactics were designed to counter coordinated fleets, not individual ship actions. Several alien vessels collided with each other as their programming struggled to adapt. "That's buying us time," Wansik said, "but they'll figure it out eventually." Engineer Bo Ram's voice crackled over the communication system from her position, aboard a technical analysis ship. "Admiral, I've been studying their adaptation patterns. I think I know how they're learning so quickly." Report. "They're not just observing our tactics. They're somehow accessing our ship computers directly. Every piece of Council technology contains components that we never fully understood. I think those components are transmitting our battle plans directly to the Devourer fleet." Wansik felt ice in his veins. "You're saying our own ships are betraying us?" "Not betraying. They were designed to do this. The Devourers didn't just disappear millions of years ago. They've been watching, waiting, and preparing. Every piece of advanced technology the Council species developed over the past several millennia contains hidden Devourer code." The implications were staggering. The galaxy's entire technological infrastructure had been compromised from the beginning. "Can we remove the transmitters?" Wansik asked. "Not without shutting down most of our ship's systems," Bo Ram replied. "But I have another idea." Before she could explain, alarms began sounding across the fleet. "Third wave incoming," Kite announced. "Admiral, these ships are different. They're using Council technology." The new Devourer vessels looked like twisted versions of familiar ships. Krell design principles combined with Vorthan energy systems and Stellar Federation weapons. The aliens had not only learned from observing the Council, they had begun incorporating captured technology into their own forces. "They're building hybrid ships," Wansik realized, "taking the best aspects of each species and combining them." The hybrid vessels attacked with devastating effectiveness. They knew exactly how to counter each species' strengths because they were built from captured examples of those same strengths. "We're losing ships," reported Commander Dex grimly. "The Krell 7th Squadron is gone. The Vorthan science vessel Wisdom has been destroyed." Wansik watched his carefully coordinated battle plan fall apart. Every advantage Earth had given the Council was being turned against them. "Bo Ram," he called urgently. "Whatever your idea is, we need it now." "Working on it," she replied. "If I'm right, we can turn their adaptation ability into a weakness." On her ship, Bo Ram was frantically modifying a piece of communication equipment. If her theory was correct, the hidden transmitters in Council technology worked both ways. "All ships," she announced, "prepare to receive new tactical data. And whatever you do, don't question the orders I'm about to give you." She activated her modified transmitter and began flooding the Devourer network with false information. Fake battle plans, misleading tactical assessments, and completely incorrect technical specifications. "What are you doing?" Wansik asked. "Giving them exactly what they want," Bo Ram replied with a grim smile. "Information. Lots and lots of very wrong information." The effect was immediate. The Devourer ships began moving in response to the false data, repositioning themselves to counter attacks that weren't coming and defending against tactics that didn't exist. "It's working," Kite reported with amazement. "They're confusing themselves." But Wansik knew this was only a temporary solution. The Devourers would eventually realize they were being fed false data and adapt their systems accordingly. "All ships," he announced, "prepare for final assault. We have maybe 10 minutes before they figure out what we're doing." The combined Council fleet surged forward, striking the confused Devourer formation with everything they had. Enhanced weapons tore through alien hulls while improved shields protected the attacking ships from return fire. For a brief moment, it looked like they might actually win. Then the largest Devourer ship, the one that had been hanging back during the entire battle, finally moved. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of anything else in the system. As it approached, Wansik realized with growing horror that it wasn't just a ship, it was a factory, and it was building new Devourer vessels even as the battle raged. "Dear God," whispered Dr. Yunjai, "they're not just adapting, they're evolving. That ship is producing new vessels based on everything they've learned from this battle." Wansik stared at the massive alien construction, watching as newly built ships emerged from its hull. Ships that incorporated not just Council technology, but Earth's modifications as well. The Devourers hadn't just been studying the Council for millions of years. They had been studying Earth too from the moment humanity had started modifying galactic technology. All ships, 1-6 said quietly, fall back to secondary positions. The battle for Kepler Station was lost, but as the fleet retreated, carrying valuable intelligence about Devourer capabilities, 1-6 knew that Earth's gardeners had one more surprise left to reveal. Dongsu walked through the marble halls of the Galactic Council building. His soft footsteps made no sound on the polished floor. Around him, alien beings talked in hushed voices about trade routes and farming equipment. They always spoke quietly, when humans were nearby, as if afraid to disturb the gentle gardeners from Earth. He smiled and bowed slightly to a tall Krell warrior who towered over him. The alien's red skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and his 4 arms carried weapons that could level a city block. Yet the massive creature stepped aside respectfully for the small human in simple green robes. Ambassador Dongsu, the Krell rumbled in his deep voice. How goes the seed distribution in the outer colonies? Very well, Commander Thrak, Dongsu replied with a peaceful smile. The new wheat varieties are growing beautifully on Kepler 7. The refugees there will have food for the winter season. This was true. Earth had indeed sent wheat seeds to Kepler 7. What Dongsu did not mention was that the same ship also carried detailed scans of every military installation in that system. The agricultural advisors who planted the wheat had mapped every defensive position and weapon placement within 100 light-years. Thrak nodded approvingly and moved on. Dongsu continued toward the main council chamber. Through the massive windows he could see the city below. Millions of aliens from 12 different species lived and worked together here. Traders, soldiers, scientists, and diplomats all mixed freely in the streets. The humans were almost invisible among them. Just a few hundred farmers and botanists scattered throughout the galaxy. Earth had no warships in the official records, no military bases, no weapons factories. According to the Council's files, humanity spent all their time growing food and making gardens. Dongsu entered his office and activated the secure communication device hidden inside what looked like a simple potted plant. The green leaves rustled as the hologram appeared. "Report," said the figure on the screen. It was General Park, head of Earth Defense Command, but to the Council, he was listed as Director of Agricultural Research. "The Krell are moving more ships to the outer rim," Dongsu said quietly. "They're worried about something. The Vorthan are also asking more questions about our food production capacity." "Any sign they suspect?" "No. They still think we're harmless. Gardeners. But that might change soon." The general's face grew serious. "Why?" Dongsu activated another display. Star charts filled the air between them, showing the galaxy's spiral arms. Red dots marked recent attacks on outer colonies. "Something is coming," Dongsu said. "Ships have been hitting remote settlements, not pirates or raiders. Something else. Something that destroys everything and takes the metal and minerals." "The Devourers?" "The Council doesn't know that name. Yet, they just call them unknown hostiles. But yes, I think it's them." General Park was quiet for a moment. Earth had been preparing for this day for 50 years. The Devourers were an ancient enemy that had once consumed half the galaxy before disappearing into deep space. Earth's deep space probes had detected their return decades ago. "How long before the Council realizes the full threat?" the general asked. "Days, maybe weeks. When they do, they'll want Earth's help. But they'll only ask for food production and refugee support. And if we show our real capabilities?" Dongsu smiled grimly. "Then they'll know we've been lying for 50 years. The conversation ended, and Dongsu made his way to the council chamber. Inside, representatives from all 12 species sat around a circular table. The chamber was designed so that no race had a position of superiority over the others. Sora was already there, sitting in the observer section. To everyone else, she was Dr. Sora, a xenobiologist studying alien plant diseases. In reality, she was one of Earth's top military analysts. For 5 years, she had been cataloging the strengths and weaknesses of every species in the Council. The Krell were physically powerful, but relied too heavily on brute force. The Vorthon had advanced technology, but were slow to adapt to new threats. The insectoid hive species could coordinate perfectly but became helpless if their queen minds were disrupted. Sora had files on all of them. Battle plans, weaknesses, ways to help them fight more effectively when the time came. "Order! Order!" called the council speaker, an elderly Vorthon, whose blue skin had faded to pale gray with age. "We have disturbing reports from the Rim territories." The massive display screen showed images of destroyed colonies. Twisted metal and melted rock were all that remained of what had once been thriving settlements. "3 more worlds have been attacked," the speaker continued. "The attackers took all metals and rare minerals. No survivors." A Krell general stood up. "My fleet is ready to hunt these pirates down." "They're not pirates," interrupted a thin humanoid from the Stellar Federation. "Pirates take valuable goods and leave. These attackers take industrial materials, raw metals, mining equipment." "What does that suggest?" asked the speaker. "They're building something," Sora said quietly from the observer section. "Something big." All eyes turned to her. She stood up slowly, playing the part of a nervous scientist. "I've been studying the pattern of attacks," she said. "They're not random. The targeted worlds all have similar mineral compositions, high concentrations of rare earths and heavy metals." This was true. What she didn't mention was that Earth's mineral composition matched the target profile exactly. "What do you recommend, Dr. Sora?" the speaker asked. "We need better early warning systems." And she paused as if the thought just occurred to her. "We should consider asking Earth for additional agricultural support. If these attacks continue, we'll have millions of refugees to feed." The council murmured agreement. Earth's farming abilities were legendary. They could make any world green and fertile. "Ambassador Dongsu," the speaker said, "would Earth be willing to increase food production?" Dongsu stood and bowed. "Of course. Earth lives to serve. We can begin immediately." What he meant was that Earth's hidden industrial capacity could start producing everything the galaxy would need for the coming war: food, medicine, equipment, and weapons. But the Council would only see the food shipments. "However," Dongsu added carefully, "we may need to send some of our research vessels to study soil conditions on refugee worlds to ensure proper crop selection." "Granted," the speaker said immediately. Dongsu hid his satisfaction. Those research vessels were actually Earth's most advanced scout ships. Now they would have official permission to travel anywhere in Council space. As the session ended, Sora caught Dongsu's eye. They had work to do. The Devourers were coming, and the galaxy had no idea how much danger they were really in. But Earth knew. Earth had been preparing. And soon, very soon, the Council would learn that their gentle gardeners had been growing more than just flowers. Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the main viewer. To any observer, the vessel looked like a simple cargo hauler. Its hull was painted with Earth's agricultural symbols, and its official name was Seed Bearer 1. But appearances could be deceiving. "Contact ahead," reported his navigator, a young woman named Yu-Jin, Krell patrol ship, requesting identification. "Send them our farming permits," Hyunwoo said calmly. "Tell them we're delivering grain to the Centauri colonies." This was partially true. They did carry grain in their cargo holds. What the permits? Didn't mention were the hidden sensor arrays, stealth generators, and advanced scanning equipment built into every bulkhead. The Krell ship moved closer. Its massive engines glowed red against the black of space. Through the communications channel, Hyunwoo could hear the alien captain's gruff voice. "Earth vessel, you are cleared for passage. Safe travels, farmers." "Thank you, Commander," Hyunwoo replied politely. "May your harvest be bountiful." It was an old Earth blessing that had become popular throughout the galaxy. The aliens found it charming. They had no idea it was actually a coded military phrase meaning mission successful. As soon as the Krell ship was gone, Yu-Jin activated the ship's real systems. The innocent farming vessel suddenly became the most advanced reconnaissance platform in the galaxy. Beginning deep scan of the Arcturus system, she reported. Multiple debris fields detected. Recent destruction. Hyunwoo studied the data flowing across his screens. What they found made his blood run cold. "Dear God," whispered Engineer Bo-Ram from her station. To the council records, she was a hydroponic systems designer. In reality, she was one of Earth's top military engineers. "Look at this damage pattern." The display showed the remains of an entire star system. 3 planets had been completely stripped of all metal. Even the asteroid belt was gone. Nothing remained but bare rock and empty space. "How long ago?" Hyunwoo asked. 12 hours, maybe less, Bo-Ram replied. "The energy readings are still fresh." Yujin's hands moved quickly over her controls. Her official job was communications specialist for agricultural missions. Her real job was signals intelligence and electronic warfare. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions," she said. "Long range, heavily encrypted. Can you break it?" "Already done. It's a distress call. From the Vega system. They're under attack right now." Hyunwoo made a quick decision. "Set course for Vega. Maximum stealth." The ship's engines changed. From the standard blue glow to a nearly invisible shimmer, Earth's stealth technology was decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. They could travel unseen through the heart of an enemy fleet. As they approached the Vega system, the full horror became clear. Massive ships, each one the size of a city, were systematically destroying the planets. They moved with mechanical precision, harvesting every scrap of useful material. "The Devourers," Bo-Ram breathed. "They're real." Hyunwoo had seen the classified files. Every human captain had. The Devourers were machine intelligences that consumed civilizations. They had done this before, millions of years ago. Now they were back. "Recording everything," Yujin reported. "The Council needs to see this." But even as she spoke, they all knew the truth. The Council's fleets were strong, but not strong enough for this. The Krell's mighty warships would be torn apart. The Vorthan's advanced shields would be useless. Only Earth had the technology to fight these monsters. But revealing that technology would expose 50 years of careful deception. On the planet below, millions of aliens were dying. The Devourers, harvesting machines, worked with ruthless efficiency. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to their component atoms in minutes. "We have to help them," Bo-Ram said quietly. "Our orders are to observe and report," Hyunwoo replied. But his voice was strained. It went against every human instinct to watch genocide and do nothing. "Sir," Yujin interrupted, "I'm detecting a pattern in the Devourer movements. They're not just taking materials randomly." Her analysis appeared on the main screen. The Devourers were specifically targeting worlds with certain mineral compositions, rare earth elements, heavy metals, the exact materials needed for advanced technology. They're looking for something, Bo-Ram realized. Or somewhere. Hyunwoo felt ice in his veins. "Run a comparison. Match their target profile against our database." The computer processed the request in seconds. The answer made everyone on the bridge go silent. Earth matched the profile perfectly. "They're coming for us," Yujin whispered. "All of this, the attacks on the rim worlds, it's just them working their way inward. They're hunting for Earth." Hyunwoo activated the quantum communication system. Within seconds, he was connected to Admiral Su-Jin, commander of Earth's hidden defense fleet. "Admiral, we have a problem. The Devourers aren't just raiding. They're specifically hunting worlds that match Earth's geological profile." Su-Jin's image flickered slightly over the quantum link. She was aboard the flagship of the Third Fleet, disguised as a research station studying stellar phenomena. "How long do we have?" she asked. "At their current rate of advance, maybe 6 months before they reach the core systems, 3 months before they find Earth." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. In the background, Hyunwoo could see the bridge of her ship. It looked like a peaceful research vessel, but he knew it carried enough firepower to crack a moon. "Continue your reconnaissance," Su-Jin ordered. "Document everything. The Council will need to see the full scope of the threat." And if they ask for Earth's help, then we'll give it to them. All of it. The transmission ended, leaving Hyunwoo and his crew alone with the terrible knowledge of what was coming. Meanwhile, in the council chambers, Dr. So-Ra was having her own revelations. Her research into alien plant diseases had given her access to biological and medical databases from every species. What she had found there was almost as disturbing as the devourer threat. Several council species showed signs of genetic modification, ancient scars in their DNA that suggested they had been altered by an outside force. The modifications were subtle but consistent across multiple worlds. She pulled up her private files comparing the data. The pattern was unmistakable. Someone, or something, had been experimenting on galactic civilizations for millions of years. The devourers weren't just random destroyers. They were farmers, and the galaxy was their crop. Back on the reconnaissance ship, Bo-Ram was running her own analysis. Her expertise in alien technology had revealed something the Council didn't know about their own ships and weapons. Built into every major piece of Council technology were small components that served no apparent function. When she analyzed them closely, she realized they were transmitters, beacons. The Council's own technology was broadcasting their locations to someone in deep space. "Captain," she called to Hyunwoo, "we need to get back to Council space immediately. There's something the Council needs to know about their own equipment." As the ship prepared to leave the dying Vega system, Yoo-Jin intercepted one final transmission. It was from the surface of the planet, broadcast on an emergency frequency. "To anyone who receives this," the voice said in broken galactic common. "They came from nowhere. Our fleets couldn't even slow them down. They took everything, everyone. If you're listening to this, run. Run as far as you can." The transmission cut to static and Vega went silent forever. Hyunwoo stared at the empty space where a civilization had existed just hours before. Soon the Council would learn what they were really facing. And when they did, humanity would have to make a choice. Continue the peaceful masquerade and watch the galaxy burn, or reveal their true strength and risk everything they had worked to build. The gentle gardeners of Earth were about to show their thorns. The emergency klaxons echoed through the council chambers as Admiral Soo-Jin's ship dropped out of hyperspace near the planet Theros. According to all official records, she commanded a small research fleet studying cosmic radiation patterns. The 3 vessels under her command looked harmless enough, painted white with Earth's agricultural symbols clearly visible on their hulls. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Kaite from the sensor station, "Theros defense grid is completely down. I'm reading massive energy signatures on the surface. Multiple devourer ships in orbit." Soo-Jin watched the tactical display with growing horror. Theros was home to 12 billion beings from 6 different species. It was also the Council's primary military academy, where young officers from across the galaxy learned to fight together. Now, it was dying. The devourer ships hung in space like metal vultures. Each one was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the largest Council warship. They worked methodically, sending down harvesting beams that stripped entire continents of metal and minerals. "Sir," called Communications Officer Yoo-Jin, "I'm receiving distress calls from the surface. The evacuation centers are under direct attack." Soo-Jin closed her eyes for a moment. Her orders were clear. Maintain cover at all costs. Earth's safety depended on the galaxy believing humans were harmless farmers and scientists. But those were children down there. Young cadets from every species in the Council. They were dying while Earth's most powerful warship sat in space pretending to be a research vessel. "Admiral," Yoo-Jin said urgently, "the main evacuation site just went dark. 3,000 civilians were at that location." The bridge went silent. Every human officer knew what Earth was capable of. Their ships carried weapons that could turn those devourer vessels into scrap metal in minutes. But using those weapons would reveal everything. "New contact," Kaite reported suddenly. "Krell heavy cruiser emerging from hyperspace. It's the Bloodfang, flagship of the Krell Third Fleet." On the main screen, the massive red ship appeared like an angry god of war. Its hull bristled with cannon and missile launchers. It was the most powerful ship in the Krell arsenal, commanded by General Thrak himself. "Incoming transmission from General Thrak," Yoo-Jin announced. "Put him through." Sujin ordered. The alien general's scarred face filled the screen. His forearms gestured, angrily as he spoke. Earth research vessel, you must evacuate immediately. This system is under attack by unknown hostiles. We will handle the military situation. Sujin felt her heart breaking as she watched the tactical display. The brave Krell ship was racing toward the Devourer fleet, its weapons charging. It was like watching a child attack a tank with a wooden sword. General Thrak, she said carefully, those ships are extremely dangerous. Perhaps you should wait for reinforcements. Krell warriors do not wait, Thrak roared. We will destroy these metal cowards and save our allies on the surface. The Bloodfang opened fire as soon as it came within range. Brilliant energy beams and massive missiles struck the nearest Devourer ship. For a moment, Sujin allowed herself to hope. Then the Devourer ship turned. What happened next was not a battle, it was slaughter. The alien vessel's weapons simply absorbed the Krell attacks, converting the energy to power its own systems. When it fired back, the beam cut through the Bloodfang's shields like they weren't even there. No, breathed Kaite from his station. It's cutting them apart. The proud Krell warship lasted less than 2 minutes. General Thrak's final transmission was a warning to all ships in the system. Run, save yourselves, tell the Council. The transmission ended in static. Sujin stared at the wreckage floating in space. General Thrak had been a good soldier and an honorable being. He had also been completely outmatched. Sir, Yujin said quietly, the Devourers are moving toward the main evacuation site. 20,000 civilians, mostly children. Sujin looked around her bridge. Every face showed the same mixture of anger and helplessness. They had the power to stop this. Earth's technology could save those lives, but revealing that technology would put Earth itself at risk. Admiral, Lieutenant Kaite said suddenly, something's happening on the surface. The evacuation site is under direct attack. The tactical display showed the terrible truth. Devourer ground forces were systematically destroying the civilian shelters. They weren't just harvesting materials anymore. They were eliminating witnesses. Sujin watched a school being torn apart, knowing that inside were children from every species in the galaxy. Young Krell cadets who dreamed of becoming warriors like General Thrak. Forthun students studying to be engineers. Human exchange students learning about alien cultures. They were all going to die while Earth's most powerful admiral sat in space pretending to be a harmless researcher. Sir, Yujin said urgently, I have a direct plea from the surface. A teacher, named Dalgon, is requesting immediate evacuation for his students. He says they're trapped in the Academy's main hall. Something inside Sujin snapped. All ships battle stations, she commanded. Sir? Kite looked confused. Our orders. I'm changing our orders, Sujin said firmly. Drop all pretenses. Full power to weapons and shields. The transformation was incredible to watch. What had looked like simple research vessels suddenly revealed their true nature. Panels slid away to expose massive weapon arrays. The hulls shifted and expanded as armor plating deployed. Advanced shield generators came online with a hum that could be felt through the deck. Sir, Yujin reported, her voice filled with amazement. All systems showing green. We are ready for combat. Lock onto the Devourer ships. Fire at will. What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. Earth's research vessels opened fire with weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. Beams of pure energy reached across space and struck the Devourer ships with impossible accuracy. The first alien vessel simply vanished. Not destroyed, not blown apart, but completely disintegrated at the molecular level. The second tried to move, but Earth's targeting systems followed it effortlessly. It lasted 3 seconds longer than the first. The remaining Devourer ships turned to face this new threat, but they were already doomed. Earth's weapons adapted to each defense, learning and evolving with every shot. Advanced artificial intelligence guided each attack, finding weaknesses that shouldn't have existed. In less than 5 minutes, the mighty Devourer fleet was nothing but glowing particles scattered across space. Surface teams begin immediate evacuation, Sujin ordered. All civilians to be transported to safety. As the rescue operation began, Sujin opened a channel to the Council emergency frequency. She knew that every government in the galaxy would be listening. "This is Admiral Sujin of the Earth Defense Force," she announced. "The Devourer attack on Theros has been neutralized. All civilians are safe." The silence that followed was deafening. Then slowly responses began coming in from across the galaxy. "Earth Defense Force?" asked the Vorthan Chancellor. "We have no record of such an organization." "Those weapons," stammered a Stellar Federation admiral. "What were those weapons?" "Your ships," said a Krell commander in amazement. "They were disguised. You've been disguised." Sujin took a deep breath. 50 years of careful planning had just been thrown away in 5 minutes. But she couldn't bring herself to regret it. "Council members," she said calmly, "we need to talk." On the surface of Theros, Teacher Dalgon held his young students close as human soldiers led them to safety. The children were from 6 different species, but they all looked up at the sky with the same expression of wonder. "Teacher," asked a small Vorthon girl, "who were those people who saved us?" Dalgon looked up at the Earth ships hovering protectively overhead. Their true forms were now visible for all to see, sleek, powerful, and absolutely deadly. "Those," he said quietly, "are gardeners, and I think we've been very lucky to have them watching over us." The secret was out. Earth's gentle facade had been shattered. But as the last civilian transport lifted off from Theros, carrying thousands of children to safety, Sujin knew she had made the right choice. Now the real war could begin. The Great Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 12 species sat in stunned silence, staring at the holographic display that showed Earth's true fleet arriving in the system. Hundreds of ships materialized from hyperspace, each one larger and more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. What the Council had believed was humanity's entire space presence, a few dozen agricultural vessels and research ships, had been revealed as merely their diplomatic corps. Ambassador Dongsu stood at the center of the chamber, no longer wearing his simple green robes. Instead, he wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's Foreign Intelligence Service. The transformation was symbolic of something much larger that had just been revealed to the galaxy. "You lied to us," said Chancellor Vex of the Vorthon Collective, his blue skin flushed darker with anger. "For 50 years you pretended to be peaceful farmers." "We never lied," Dongsu replied calmly. "We told you we were gardeners. We simply never explained what we were cultivating." On the main display, General Tejo appeared via hologram. To the Council, he had been listed as Director of Agricultural Research for the past 30 years. Now he stood on the bridge of a massive command ship, wearing the stars of Earth's highest military rank. "Council members," Tejo said, "we apologize for the deception, but it was necessary for the safety of all our species." "Safety?" roared Commander Thrax's replacement, a younger Krell warrior named Dex. "You made us weak. You made us dependent on your agricultural aid while hiding your true strength." Dr. Sora stepped forward from the observer section. Like Dongsu, she now wore a military uniform instead of her scientist's robes. "Commander Dex," she said respectfully, "we didn't make you weak. We made you stronger." She activated her personal display, showing detailed military analyses that covered every species in the Council. "For 50 years, our agricultural advisors have been studying your military capabilities, not to exploit them, but to improve them. Every piece of farming equipment we sold you contained small modifications to your existing technology." The display changed, showing comparative battle efficiency charts. "Krell ships are now 30% more effective in combat than they were 50 years ago," Sora continued. "Vorthon shields last twice as long under heavy fire. Stellar Federation weapons have improved accuracy by 40%. "You've been manipulating our development," the Vorthon Chancellor accused. "We've been guiding it," General Tejo corrected. "Every species in this chamber is stronger, more capable, and better coordinated than when we first made contact. That wasn't an accident." Dr. Nam Gil appeared on a secondary display. The mild-mannered terraforming specialist the Council knew was gone, replaced by Earth's Chief of Planetary Engineering. 6 months ago, we completed Project Garden, he announced. Every major Council world now has defensive modifications that you don't even know exist. The holographic display shifted to show cross-sections of various planets. Deep beneath the surface of each world, massive structures had been built. Planetary shield generators, buried communication networks, and emergency supply depots, Namgil explained, all disguised as agricultural improvements. Every world in the Council is now capable of withstanding a siege lasting several years. The Council members looked at each other in shock. Some seemed angry at the deception, others impressed by the scale of the operation. Why? Asked Dr. Yenna of the Aquatic Confederation, her gills fluttering with confusion. Why go to such elaborate lengths to help us? Admiral Sujin's image joined the conference from her flagship. The rescue operation at Theros was complete, and now her fleet was moving to reinforce the Council's core worlds. Because we knew this day was coming, she said simply. Earth detected Devourer scout probes over a century ago. We've been preparing for their return ever since. She activated a new display showing the galaxy's spiral arms. Red arrows indicated Devourer movements over the past several months. They're not random raiders, Sujin explained. They're an ancient machine intelligence that once consumed half the galaxy. They disappeared for millions of years, but now they're back. Engineer Boram joined the conference from her position aboard a technical analysis ship. To the Council, she had been a simple hydroponic systems designer. In reality, she was one of Earth's top xenotechnology experts. We've been analyzing their technology, Boram reported. The Devourers are specifically hunting worlds that match certain mineral profiles, worlds rich in rare Earth elements and heavy metals. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Worlds like Earth? The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. Several Council members had suspected that Earth was somehow special, but this confirmation was still jarring. So you used us as a shield, accused Commander Dex. No, General Tejo said firmly. We prepared you to be our allies. The display changed again, showing detailed battle plans that covered the entire galaxy. Fleet movements, supply lines, defensive positions, and evacuation routes were all carefully mapped out. Every human farmer and researcher in the galaxy has been conducting strategic analysis for decades, Tejo continued. We know the optimal defensive position for every species. We know how to coordinate your fleets for maximum effectiveness. We know where to evacuate civilians and how to keep supply lines open during extended combat. Dr. Yoon Jae appeared on another channel. Her official title had been Atmospheric Specialist, but now she wore the insignia of Earth's Psychological Operations Division. We've also been studying Devourer behavior patterns, she announced. They're machines, but they follow predictable programming. They can't adapt to truly cooperative strategies because they don't understand concepts like sacrifice and trust. And, you believe we can defeat them? Asked Chancellor Vex. Not alone, Dongsu admitted. Even with all our preparations, Earth alone cannot stop the Devourers. But together, using everything we've built over the past 50 years, we have a chance. Commander Dex stood up, his massive frame towering over the human representatives. You deceived us, he said. You manipulated us. You pretended to be something you weren't. The chamber waited tensely for his next words. But you also saved my species. You made us stronger. You prepared us for a war we didn't even know was coming. He sat down slowly. The Krell fleet stands ready to follow Earth's strategic command. One by one, the other Council members voiced their agreement. Some were angry about the deception, but all recognized the scope of what Earth had accomplished. Very well, Chancellor, Vex said finally. Earth has revealed its true nature as galactic guardians rather than simple farmers. The Council accepts your leadership in this crisis. General Tejo nodded grimly. Then let's begin. Admiral Sujin, what's our current tactical situation? Not good, Sujin replied. The Devourers have consumed 17 star systems in the past month. They're moving faster now and they're heading directly for the core worlds. How long do we have? Asked Dongsu. 3 weeks before they reached the outer defensive perimeter. 6 weeks before they threatened the major population centers. The chamber fell silent again as the enormity of the situation became clear. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," General Tejo said formally, 50 years of preparation are about to be put to the test. Earth has given you the tools. We've studied the enemy. We've prepared the battlefield. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every representative. Now we find out if gardeners can defeat machines. The holographic displays shifted to show real-time fleet positions across the galaxy. Hundreds of council ships were moving into formation, guided by Earth's strategic coordination. For the first time in galactic history, all 12 species were working together as a single unified force. The gentle farmers from Earth had spent 50 years cultivating more than just crops. They had grown an alliance that might just be strong enough to save the galaxy. But the real test was still to come.